Happy Vlogmas Soulmas season, honey buns. Today we are going to be making a bomber vest out of a jacket. Let's get started. Honey Bun TV. Hey honey buns, everything you're going to need is going to be listed in the description box below, but you are going to be needing some polyfill. You're going to be needing about 1.5 yards to 2 yards of fabric for your inside, and then you're going to be needing about 1.5 yards to 2 yards for your outside if you are not using a blanket. And then you are going to need a heavy metal duty zipper. Do not make the mistake of getting the zipper that do not pull apart, okay? Now, if you're using a blanket like I am doing here, you'll see that my blanket is not too thick, but it is not too thin. So I'm able to work through it, and I'm able to cut it down and put it through the sewing machine nice and evenly. My best recommendation, if you are going to get a blanket or a throw, as you see here, that it is lightweight and not too thin, okay? So the first thing that we are going to be doing is literally cutting our fabric, and the same pieces that I'm cutting for the outside, of course, I am going to be cutting for the inside. Now, this is Christmas themed, so my inside will be red, and I will be putting a collar on this jacket, well, this jacket vest, because that is what my pattern calls for. So if your jacket does not call for a collar or anything of that magnitude, you don't have to worry about it. But because mine does, I will also show you how to put a collar on. Okay, so what we are getting ready to do right now, after we finish cutting our fabric, we are going to start piecing our jacket together before we start stuffing it. The first step to this is starting with your back piece rather than the two panels, because your back piece, you're going to sew the biggest. Okay, this is the biggest part. So all you're going to do is literally sew your two pieces, starting with the shoulder together, and then you're going to sew that curve that you see me gliding my finger over. And then do not forget the bottom. So sew the shoulders, the curve, and you're going to sew the bottom. When it comes to the front panels, you're going to sew the shoulders, you're going to sew the curve side, you are going to sew the side, and you are going to sew the bottom. You are not going to sew where your zipper is going to be. So shoulder, curve, side, bottom. Now, you see how I have my shoulder, my curve, and my bottom, and then I have my shoulder, curve, side, and bottom sewed? You are going to be flipping them inside out, okay, as you can see me here doing. Once you flip all of your pieces inside out, we are then going to move on to the next step of creating a line across so we can stuff our vest, okay? But flip everything inside out first, and then we're gonna go from there. Okay, y'all, I just put the jacket together because it was coming out so cute at first. I had to see it come to the light, okay? But this is what your jacket will look like, obviously, and when it gets stuffed, it'll be a little bit more fluffier. So the next thing that we are getting ready to do is we are going to be sewing a line across to basically create a casing for our polyfill, which is going to be our stuff. You can make as many lines as you choose to, but it is my best recommendation to you to make the lines big enough for your hands to go through and stuff your jacket properly. I am only going to be making 2 lines because the first big portion does not need a line. That's going to be kind of the portion where half the jacket is above the underarm, okay? Now, when it comes to this underarm piece right here, as you can see here, I am literally just folding my measuring tape in half so I can find an even middle ground. That way, I'm making sure that my lines are, of course, even. My casing is, of course, even. And even when I put my front pieces on top, they'll be even, okay? So this makes things a little bit more easier for me. And what I'm going to do is once I find my first pinpoint, I'm literally going to flip my jacket to the other side and put another pin on the other side, okay? Work smarter, not harder. So I'm just going to be lining my pins up, making sure that they're good. And I'm going to push that to the side. And then I am going to bring my front pieces. And I'm going to put my front pieces actually on my back piece, which I will show y'all soon. And that is how we are going to create our even lines, making sure that everything is lined up. As you can see here, now I have pins all where my lines are going to be. And I'm literally going to take it to the sewing machine and make a line where my pins are. As you can see me gliding my finger across. After we are done on the sewing machines, you should have lines that look like this. And if you don't, that's okay. As long as you got a line that goes across and you can get your hand through this casing to stuff your jacket. Now, I'm going to be taking some polyfill. I do not like to overstuff my jacket like a jive turkey, okay? And you don't want to do that neither, because when it gets time to really sew this together, you don't want to make it more difficult on yourself with all that stuffing. Now, I'm only going to take just a few pieces, and I'm not going to push them all the way to the back, but I'm not going to push them all the way to the front neither. I'm kind of just going to place the fluff in the middle-ish, okay? Because again, when we get ready to sew it, we want to have some room where it will be flat. So about a 1/2 inch from the back and a little bit of 1/2 inch from the front. So I'm just going to stuff my jacket, and then we're going to come back and put it together. Now, I have finished stuffing my jacket, and the next step that we are going to do is literally sew the side where that zipper is going to be on right up so our stuffing will not fall out, okay? So once we sew that, we're going to come back and then continue. After you have sewn the sides, your whole jacket should be basically closed, okay? Besides the top part. Now, what you are going to do is you are literally going to now be sewing the shoulders down with your right sides facing each other. And notice how when I stuffed my jacket, I said that you really want to stuff and put stuffing in your jacket about an 1/2 inch away from where those corners are, because when you sew, you still kind of want a flat kinds of surface bottom piece. That way it's a little bit more easy and tangible when it goes through the sewing machine. So as you can see here, I have a little bit more flat pieces that is going to be more easier for when I put it through the sewing machine. After I've sewn all the sides together, we are now going to be sewing on our collar. Now, again, if your pattern does not call for a collar or you don't want to put a collar on, that is perfectly fine. But if you are, what we are going to do is literally be sewing our collar point around. So you are going to get your 2 pieces for the collar. This is how mine is going to be made. And you are going to sew the 2 sides and the top part, leaving the bottom open. Once I am finished sewing the sides and the top, I am just going to now fold it outside in, and then I am going to place it where my collar is and sew around. And I meant my collar portion, okay? So you're going to place each point. Sometimes I like to start in the middle to make sure that everything is on point and the same length. But I know this is the same length, so I'm going to be starting from my corner, and I am just going to take my time pinning it around. Once I finish pinning it around, I'm going to sew it down. Hey honey buns, we are at the last portion where we are working with our heavy metal duty zipper. Now this zipper is 22 inches. However long you got your zipper, that is totally up to you. I like to take the 2 pieces before starting and sew those down, and then I like to place my zipper on top of my fabric, well, really under my fabric, okay? And as you can see me here doing, like I said, I like to take that flapper piece and I like to sew it down. And now we are just going to be pinning the zipper on those sides to make sure that it is aligning and it is the same length. You also just want to pin your zipper on here to make sure that it does not slip while you are sewing and that it can give you that straight and neat look. So you're going to place your second zipper, well, the second portion or the other side of the zipper on the other side, and then we are going to sew it down. And as you can see here, I'm just taking my time. Okay, honey buns, that was it for Vlogmas Sewmas season day 6. See you guys tomorrow. Mwah.